let's talk about the backpacking gear that I'm done with to a point. And I want to say to a point because I don't necessarily want to totally say this piece of gear I am totally done with and never going to use again. I like to keep my options open and available, and so that's kind of the idea with this particular discussion. And yeah, let's just go ahead and get into it. So the reason that trekking poles fit the list of gear that I'm done with. Why in the world would I be done with trekking poles? And the biggest thing is, I'm not 100% done, but the aspect or the idea that I am a YouTuber and I'm carrying a camera with me when I'm out hiking and backpacking and doing my outdoor adventures, the trekking poles just don't really make sense. They get in the way, they make it difficult to carry a camera, and so unless I am using a shelter that requires trekking poles, I'm probably just going to carry them in my pack instead of actually hiking with them. So trekking poles, I love them, I really do, but if I want to continue to video the way that I want to on my trips and everything, then trekking poles can't be something that I'm carrying on my person and hiking with every time I go out. So I am not going to be actively using trekking poles anymore, and especially now that I've got a new camera setup, it's a much bigger setup, more bulky, it's heavier. These just don't fit that need, and so I feel like I've been able to get away pretty much this entire hiking season without using trekking poles, and I haven't missed them. So trekking poles, you've been good to me, but I'll miss you. Not really. Okay, so the next item of gear that I am done with is, and rightly so, like I just never use them, and I have like full intentions to use alcohol stoves. I don't ever use alcohol stoves, and we've got 3 different stoves here. 2 of them are like DIY, and then I've got the Esbit stove, and to be honest, I just don't use them. I would prefer to use my Whisper Light. I would prefer to use my any of my canister stoves, my Windmaster, or any of my Olicamp stoves. Like the canister stoves have just been way more reliable. They're easier, they're more convenient, they're simple, basic, all of that. And I feel like there are just so many little things that go into making an alcohol stove work that I don't have any care to use an alcohol stove anymore. So yeah, alcohol stove. Sorry, see ya. So now the next item, 2 items actually, might come as a little bit of a surprise. And again, I have good intentions and I really, really want to make this work, but I've spent so much time in areas that don't have proper places to hang a hammock that this is where the sort of comes into play, because I don't want to limit myself to not being able to use a hammock. I really, really want to hammock camp. And so I'm going to make it a possibility for myself to do so, but a hammock is a piece of gear that fits the shelter system that I'm pretty much done with at this point. I have had this Sheltoe hammock for like 9-10 months or something, like almost a year, and I've yet to take it out and actually camp with it. That's really unfortunate. Like, I've been able to talk about me being excited about this piece of gear and taking it out, but I have not physically slept in this hammock yet. But I've used it for like day hikes and out car camping, but I haven't slept in it. It's super frustrating for me. It just hasn't been a convenient piece of gear in what I've been trying to do when I've been going out on my trips. Pretty much done with hammock camping and trying to make it part of my shelter system and a go-to shelter system for me to use. And so I'm not ditching it completely, but a piece of gear that I feel like I am going to ditch completely, because if I keep the hammock and I get myself like a sleeping pad, like a X-Therm at Thermarest NeoAir X-Therm, then I don't need this piece of gear, and it makes it so I've got it more of a multi-use piece of gear. This is my hammock gear incubator 40 degree under quilt, because I've not used this yet, and that's a bummer, because I spent good money on this and I think it's a cool product, but I just haven't used it yet, and that's super frustrating for me. This is a piece of gear that I'm gonna hold on to for a little bit longer, and we'll see if I get out in the backcountry with it and actually use it. But I'm more likely at this point to get into a sleeping pad like an X-Therm, use that in the hammock as opposed to using the underquilt. So if anybody's interested in a brand new underquilt that's never been out on the trail, let me know. Anyway guys, that sums up my backpacking gear that I'm done with. It's not a lot of pieces, but it's an interesting conversation to have, and I would be interested to know from you guys what your pieces of backpacking gear are that you're done with, that you don't use anymore, and yeah, share that down in the comments. I know this is kind of a unique discussion, but I like talking about these kinds of things. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you are not. As always, guys, I hope you have an awesome day. We'll catch you on the next video. See you later.